Hi, hello and welcome from wherever you join me today. Yes, it's me again, Jim Black from the Three Hats Stage Media channel, trying to bring entertaining content media for all the world's stages. This is a pause for thought edition where I review one of my favourite movies, see what messages we can take from it and how we could use those insights in today's busy lives. All the movies I review come from over the past several decades, some you may know and some you may not. They're from a book or screenplay, have a great cast and a fabulous soundtrack. As you can see from the lightbox just to my side, today's movie is no exception. It's Galaxy Quest from 1999. The story is by David Howard and he wrote the screenplay with Robert Gordon. There's an all-star cast. You've got Tim Allen, he plays Jason Nesmith, and he's Buzz Lightyear, of course. If you remember far enough back, Home Improvements, he was Tool-Time Tim. Sigourney Weaver, she plays Gwen Marco, and we all know her from Alien as well as Ghostbusters, amongst other things. Alan Rickman, he plays Sir Alexander Dane, and he was of course Professor Snape. Truly Madly Deeply was one of his, which was another good film. Sam Rockwell, he plays Guy Fleegman, and he was in Frost Nixon as well as The Green Mile. Then there's Tony Shalhoub, he plays Fred Quam, and if you can remember, way back, he was in a movie called Paulie, and that was about a singing parrot that used to sing Tom Jones songs. Other cast members are Daryl Mitchell, Jason Long, Enrico Colantoni and Robin Sachs. So I ask, is it right? If you behave like the one and only, then why should people trust and believe in you? And would you ever surrender and never give up? Let's get right into this plot and find out. Do you know somebody, or maybe even yourself? It might be at work. It might be within your family unit. You know, there's a person there and they're the one. They're always on show, they're always top, and they believe that they've got there all on their own. But of course life isn't like that. The supporting cast around you, whether it's at work or at home, have made you who you are today, along with some other experiences of course. This movie is about Jason Nesmith. He's the lead actor and he's got a supporting cast, and that's exactly what he believes they are. They support him. He believes he's the one and nothing else matters, and he's going to live his lifestyle just as he's always lived it. But I don't think he always has, because obviously he's got there through the support of others. Maybe he's just forgotten his way. In this movie, there's a never give up, never surrender scenario that forces them all back together. So let's see how they all get on and if things can work out better for all of them. Let's get into the plot. Another one of my favourite movies, and I do have a lot, but this goes on the pile with all the others. It's a movie about a TV show from the past. It's been cancelled 18 years and it's a sci-fi drama called Galaxy Quest. It starts at a convention centre where many of these fanzine type things happen, Comic Con, all that sort of stuff, where fans, old and new, want to meet the cast of the series. There's Brandon and his friends, they're the younger type of people. There's also older type of people there that have seen it the first time round. But as with all streaming services, you can watch anything now, from way back when to present day. It's all about Jason. He's the lead character from the series, but he's a bit different nowadays. The fame and stuff like that's gone to his head, and the supporting cast are just supporting, in his view. The crowds come to see him after all. At the convention centre, Jason's late. He's always late. Gwen, Dr. Lazarus, and the rest of the crew are always there waiting for him. None of them are happy with him. They all call him, and they just want him to be that person that he once was. Anyway, he turns up eventually. The crowds see them, they cheer, they do talks, they do photographs, they do signings. Anything that the fans want, they do. After all, they're the ones that are keeping him famous. At the end of day one, Jason goes home, and we see him, a lonely character, sat in front of a TV, drinking some scotch, and he's got no friends and no family. But has he made his life like that, from being who he is at this moment? The next morning he wakes up, hangover as usual, knock on the door, and there's some aliens. Well, they're dressed as aliens, he believes. He saw them at the convention centre the day before. They want him to come with them, so he does, because he thinks it's a gig, because he does a lot of these things, bachelor parties, frat parties, personal appearances. People pay him, he turns up, and he acts out the character. He falls asleep in the car, and the next thing, he's on a spaceship. But he believes it's an elaborate set, that they've gone to a lot of trouble. They want him to do the stuff that he does when he's commander of Galaxy Quest. He does all the jargon, he fires some torpedoes, some phasers, puts up shields, all that sort of stuff that those sort of sci-fi things do. After he's finished, he wants to go home. He's taken to the pod room, and this is where he suddenly realises something's different. A lot of liquid comes up around him, and the next thing, he's back at the convention centre on day 2. He's shaking, he doesn't know what's happened, he can't even believe why he's got there and how he's got there, but he must tell everybody about this. He bumps into Brandon, who hadn't finished with him yesterday when he ignored him completely and told him he was wasting his time. A lot of things fall on the floor, Jason picks them up and races after the cast. He's tried to explain to the cast what's happened. They don't believe him, because why would they? He's been telling stories for years. And if people tell you often enough, why should you not believe them? You just get fed up with them at the end of the day. We move through the building and we end up in a room. It's a pod room. Wonder where that will take them. They all stand on these circles, and the next thing they know, even though they're telling Jason they don't believe anything, is they're on the spaceship. Although they think it's a very elaborate thing and they're not sure if it is. Jason's already there. He takes them to the cockpit, or the bridge as it's called, and explains things. So they all stand in the positions from the television series that they were in and try and work things out. They realise that this isn't right, so they all race off. Jason goes after them, tells them they've got to try and do it and act out the people who they are. After all, it's a paying gig. You might get a lot of money for it. But it is real in the terms of there's aliens out there and they want to kill. It's Omega-13. They need it. I don't know why. If I explain here that Omega-13 is something that can reverse time back by a minute, it's something that we'd all have because we'd use it all the time and we could always be somewhere else that we weren't, if you know what I mean. Anyway, they all agree. They try and play the characters that they're playing and they start to get into it. They take the ship out, which is real. So if they press a button or, move something, it's going to work. The next thing is there's a battle in space with Saris. But Saris is real. He's firing real torpedoes, real rockets, real phasers. And their ship gets disabled. They're not happy. What are they going to do? They're trapped in space after all. And they're only human beings. They're actors at the end of the day. We move to a planet because there's some crystal that's needed to repair the ship, obviously. And this will get them back home. There's a great scene with a rock monster and Jason. But luckily Fred gets them all back onto the ship. And the rock monster as well. At this point, Saris has boarded the ship with all his men and they're taking over the ship. They're trying to kill people, they're trying to kill all the aliens, and they're quite nice aliens, the ones that Jason is with and the crew, obviously. And Saris is bad, as you'd expect. Like I said, it's all about the Omega-13, and this is where the alarm goes off, the spoiler alarm, and if I tell you any more, then you'll know the ending. Let's just say that all ends have new beginnings. Everything may get sorted, or it may not. And there are twists and turns in it, so you don't know the whole thing, because how can you? I've not told you the end. All we learn from this is that things have changed. There's a team built again. The leader has become a part of that team, Jason, which he was a part of all the time. The crew around him take him back in and start believing in him. Because when he became the commander for real, his brain started to work. It started to realise that things can be better. And he had to put in a lot of work to make it all work. He had to get them to trust him in the first place. Well, why would they, after all? In your daily lives, go through it as best you can. Never surrender, never give up. doesn't have to be something that's about to kill you. It can be something else. You know, there's lots of things around you. Just don't give up on anything. Unless it's really bad, of course. If you know somebody that's one of those people like Jason was, or what he turned into, then maybe you can try and change things. And if you don't like direct confrontation, then try and do it in other ways. But if you're one of those people, a leader, always make sure that the people that support you, that make you that leader, get something from you. Things work out a lot better that way. The effects and everything in this movie are really good. Don't forget, it's 1999, CGI wasn't at its strongest at that point, and the sets have had to be made, and it does look quite real. It's not like one of those really old movies that, you know, there's a wobbly set and a scary sort of hazy light that's trying to be some sort of monster. This is quite good. The dialogue's good in it, it's a good comedy film, and there's some great acting in it. There must be, because there's some great actors playing the parts. They all went on to do great things in many, many different guises, and I might do those reviews at some point in the future. The trivia in this movie is really good. Alan Rickman, who plays Sir Alexander Dane, he's called that because Hamlet is known as the melancholy Dane, and that's the type of character Alan Rickman plays in this. There's a scene at the end, which I've not told you about, but it won't spoil it, with Sigourney Weaver and Tim. They're in a corridor, although it's ducts, you know, the things that air blows through and things like that. And she says, "Ducts, I hate ducts." And that's a reference to Aliens, because she was always in one of those defending the world. If you look at Jason, when he sits in the command chair on the bridge, he takes the pose of Captain James T. Kirk, which is what a lot of the movie is based on, a similar sort of thing. There's also a scene where Alan Rickman's character holds something upside down, which Spock is supposed to have done on many occasions in the true Star Trek series. And the final bit of trivia is there's a scene where the spaceship is leaving the planet of rocks. There's teardrops that you see, and this is based on the album cover Yes Songs by the group Yes. The music in this movie is based on a soundtrack. There's no big names in it. It's all orchestral and it plays at different parts throughout the movie. But we all need some mood music in our lives, so I suggest you have a look and maybe get it. I hope you've enjoyed this movie review. If you want to know where my thoughts and inspirations come from, please click on the links in the bio below and they'll take you for a closer look. If you want to join our community, please hit the button, and if you want to know when we upload again, hit the notification bell. Comments are always welcome, leave them below, I'll get back to you as and when I can. And I've been Jim Black for the Three Hat Stage Media channel for this edition of Pause for Thought. See you soon.